quiet folds of Little Haseley, where narrow country lanes dissolve into open fields and silence feels almost deliberate, there exists a village that seems to have stepped out of time, or perhaps slipped out of it entirely. Recorded in the Doomsday Book as a settlement of just 12 households, Little Haseley began as a fragile community carved from wilderness, where life was governed by the rising sun, the turning seasons, and the distant authority of Norman lords. But unlike many villages that grew and evolved, Little Haseley chose a different path, a quieter one, almost as if it deliberately retreated from the world. Even today, its population remains small, its presence subtle, its identity often overshadowed by nearby parishes. And yet, there is something deeply compelling here, something that cannot be explained by history alone. Walk through its fields at dawn, and you may feel it, the weight of unseen stories pressing gently against the present. Locals speak in hushed tones of vanished cottages and forgotten footpaths, as though parts of the village were slowly erased, not by time, but by intention. Some believe that entire sections of the settlement once existed beyond what is now visible, swallowed by nature or lost to records that no longer survive. There is a quiet melancholy in the air, an emotional residue left behind by generations who lived simple but profound lives. Farmers, families, children who played in fields that no longer exist in the same way. Traditions here are subtle but enduring. Seasonal rhythms of farming, small church gatherings, and a deep, almost unspoken connection to the land. Hidden spots, overgrown hedgerows, barely visible foundations, and ancient pathways invite curiosity, as if they are fragments of a story waiting to be pieced together. But perhaps the greatest mystery of Little Haseley is not what we can uncover, but what has been deliberately left behind. Because in this village, the past does not shout, it whispers, and only those who listen closely can hear it. The journey begins where the heavy Oxfordshire mist clings to the ancient topiary of Little Haseley, a village that feels less like a place and more like a memory frozen in amber. Here, among a population so small that every footfall on the gravel paths seems to echo through the centuries, we find the mysterious Haseley Court, where the legendary chess piece gardens stand as silent sentinels over secrets kept since the time of the Lent halls. As the camera lingers on the weathered stone of the great barn, the narrator speaks of the hidden spots known only to the locals. Just a short distance away lies Great Milton, a village that tells a very different story, one not of disappearance, but of transformation. Where little Haseley feels hidden, Great Milton feels like a place that once thrived with life and movement, a hub of activity that has since quieted into reflection. In the 18th and 19th centuries, this village was alive with energy. Shops lined the roads, craftsmen worked tirelessly, and blacksmiths shaped iron as villagers gathered in the heart of the community. It was a place of connection, where stories were shared not in silence, but in laughter and conversation. But time, as it always does, reshaped Great Milton into something softer, quieter, more introspective. Today, as you walk through its peaceful streets, there is a sense of something missing, not in a physical sense, but in an emotional one. The buildings remain, the roads still guide travelers, but the echoes of its vibrant past linger just beneath the surface. Old cottages seem to carry memories within their walls, as if they remember the voices that once filled them. There are local traditions that continue to bind the community, seasonal gatherings, church events, and a shared respect for heritage. But they exist now in a gentler form, like a fading echo of something once much louder. Hidden within Great Milton are subtle secrets, forgotten workshops, quiet corners where businesses once thrived, and stories of families whose lives shaped the village before quietly fading into history. And yet, there is beauty in this transformation. It is a place that teaches us not just about growth, but about change, about how communities evolve, adapt, and sometimes lose parts of themselves along the way. Great Milton does not hide its past. It carries it with quiet dignity, inviting those who visit to feel not just what is there, but what once was. The priest holes and the forgotten boundary stones that mark a time when faith and survival were one and the same. We transition into the neighboring Great Milton, a village of grander scales but deeper shadows, where the ghost of the poet John Milton is said to wander the lanes near the thatched cottages that line the village green. While the world knows this place for its culinary excellence at Luminoir, the true local secret lies in the St. Mary's Church bells, which have rung through plagues and revolutions, anchoring a community that has seen its population ebb and flow like the tide. There is an intense emotional weight here, a realization that these golden stone walls have absorbed the joys and griefs of 1,000 years, leaving behind a curiosity that pulls at the soul of any traveler who dares to stop and listen to the wind through the ancient yew trees. Crossing the invisible borders into the heart of Warwickshire, we descend into the valley of the River Stour to find Honington, perhaps the most perfectly preserved estate village in all of England. This is a place of profound silence and unique traditions, where the five-arched 17th century bridge serves as a literal and metaphorical portal into a world where the 21st century has been politely asked to wait at the gate. The narrative explores the curiosity of Honington Hall, a Caroline masterpiece that dominates the village's identity, and the emotional resonance of St. Peter's Church, rebuilt in the 1680s with a beauty so singular it feels like a hidden jewel box in the middle of a field. We delve into the lives of the tiny population, the guardians of this sanctuary, who maintain the hidden spots like the secluded riverbanks and the private walkways that have remained unchanged since the reign of King Charles II. The mystery here is not one of crime, but of endurance. How has this village remained so untouched while the world around it crumbled and modernized? As the sun sets over the Warwickshire horizon, casting long shadows across the red brick facades and the perfectly manicured greens, we conclude that the secret of Little Haseley, Great Milton, and Honington is not found in books, but in the quiet, emotional heartbeat of the land itself. A reminder that in the rush of the modern age, there are still places where time holds its breath and history is a living, breathing neighbor. Further north, nestled beside the gentle flow of the River Stour, lies Honington, a village so small, so still, that it feels less like a place and more like a secret waiting to be discovered. With only a handful of homes and a population that barely reaches a few hundred, Honington exists in a kind of timeless calm, untouched by the urgency of modern life. Its ancient five-arched bridge stands as a silent witness to centuries of passage, while the historic All Saints' Church rises with quiet authority, its 13th century tower watching over the land like a guardian of memory. But beneath this peaceful surface lies something deeper, something almost haunting. There are traces here of lives that no longer exist, echoes of medieval settlements that once stood nearby, now reduced to faint impressions in the earth. Entire communities, gone without explanation, leaving behind only questions. Why did they disappear? What forces, natural, economic, or perhaps something more mysterious, caused them to vanish? As you walk through Honington, these questions seem to follow you, carried in the rustling of leaves and the distant murmur of the river. And yet, life continues. Traditions endure quietly, church bells still ring, seasons still guide daily rhythms, and the small community remains deeply connected to its past. Hidden spots, ancient pathways, overlooked ruins, and quiet riverbanks offer glimpses into stories that have yet to be fully told. There is a powerful emotional presence here, a sense that the village remembers even when history does not. And perhaps that is the true essence of Honington, a place where the past is never truly gone, where silence speaks louder than words, and where every step feels like walking through a memory that refuses to fade.